This is the Long Room at the Trinity College Library in Dublin. It's one of the most beautiful interior spaces in the world. It holds some of the college's oldest books, 200,000 volumes. And peculiarly, they're organized by size. I'm Cord Bloomquist with Tall Street Digital, and I want to talk to you today about Trinity College Library in Dublin because it has a weird similarity to think tank websites. Let me explain. Why is the Dublin Library organized the way that it is? It's organized that way because 300 years ago, the thing you needed to do was maximize your use of space. To do that, you keep all the big books on one shelf, keeping that gap between shelves as small as you can, then the next size books, the next size books. It's a sort of shelf space maximizing algorithm. And the librarians at the time had a pretty clear mission: collect and preserve as many books as possible. Books were a lot rarer thing then and much more precious, and users just had to deal with finding them. So that might mean that books by the same author would be on different shelves or even in different aisles because the length of the alphabet of big books and little books might get different and sort of out of joint. But users put up with this because there weren't that many other options for browsing around tens of thousands of books. That's not true for the users of your think tank's library of stuff on your website. In fact, numbers collected by Google suggest that users who have to wait more than 3 seconds for a page to load, half the time will simply click the back button and go find some other easier way to get that information. So, are you doing something similar to Dublin Library? Are you sorting things by size, a sort of weird thing to index on when you're not bound by any physical constraints? And especially when you're facing the pressure of easy replaceability from other websites, especially other think tank websites out there. I've noticed on think tanks a few cases of this. One, policy briefs and policy studies are often separated, put in different sections of a page, or sometimes even different sections of the site, and the only difference between those two things, I guess, is the length, the size. You also see formats separated out. Audio, like podcasts, or video, like clips from a recent panel discussion, are squirreled away in some separate corner of the site, not lumped in on the issue pages where people are probably most likely to look. I've never gone onto the internet and thought, I want to watch a video. I want to watch a video about something. Similarly, there may be policymakers, members of the media who are coming to your website to look at a certain issue. And if you don't put that podcast in front of them or that clip from that recent panel discussion in front of them, they won't think to listen to that podcast on their commute home and potentially subscribe to your podcast and become a regular visitor of your stuff. Similarly, they might not watch that video clip during a spare moment during their day or maybe during their coffee break or over lunch. And so you've lost a way to get your content under that person's nose at a time when they're most likely to absorb it. So how do you solve these odd little issues that happen? How do you optimize your content for your users? You can take the suggestions I've just given, but the best way is to go straight to the source, to users. Now, in future videos, I'm going to explain the science of usability, how to craft a usability study. But there's a quick and dirty way of doing this where you don't have to do a usability study. One way is just pick up the phone. A 10-minute conversation with somebody who doesn't work at your think tank, and that's crucial. They can't work at your think tank, can illuminate a lot of the worst usability issues. Calling up somebody who works in the media who's friendly with you, is nice to you, maybe they used to work with you. Someone in a policy-making position, maybe a wonk at another think tank, but preferably a think tank that doesn't engage with the stuff that your think tank does a lot. But find somebody friendly who's going to understand the content of your site and give you some honest feedback. And ask them, find the specific thing. Maybe you have an index. Maybe you have your Freedom in the 50 States that comes out once every couple of years, those big pillar pieces of content. But give them a mission. Find something relevant to them or find something specific and ask them to speak aloud as they go through trying to find that. you'll find stumbling blocks that you never realized were there pretty quickly during an experiment like this. And if you do this 2 or 3 times, you're going to find all the little things that are preventing people from finding content that's most relevant to them. So armed with that information, you can start acting like a helpful librarian. You can not only direct people towards the content that they say that they want as quickly as you can, but you can also create a nice curated bookshelf space for them. That means showing content that might provide context, the broad overview study that comes out once a year, or a short form piece that recently explained the sort of state of affairs in a certain issue. You may also want to promote things that users don't actively seek out, like those videos or podcasts, or maybe you have a weekly newsletter on a certain topic. If those things aren't front and center on those issue pages where users are typically trying to drill into whatever topic they're interested in, users aren't going to find them. They're not going to seek out the podcast page or, God forbid, the multimedia page on your website. They're going to be looking for issues. So put those things that you want them to find right under their nose, just like that outward-facing book on the library shelf. So the bottom line here is there's a lot of ways that you can organize your content. There are ways that don't make a ton of sense, like organizing books by size. And there's ways that are more intuitive to users. You can find that out by soliciting user feedback, listening to that user feedback, incorporating that back into your design. But above all, don't place anything on ladders out of reach of your users. I'm Cord Bloomquist for Tallest Tree Digital. Talk to you again soon.